If you ever felt nervous about selling anything online, I think that asking yourself if you've really validated this idea, because a lot of lack of confidence comes from, I just don't know what they want. I'm not really sure if they'll buy this. Course calls get you closer to, oh, I know what they want, and I'm going to start to create messaging around this so they can't resist it. I'm Amy Porterfield, ex-corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-seven-figure business. But it wasn't all that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the budget, and the time to focus on growing my small but mighty business. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and you'll see the business I have today. One that changes lives and gives me more freedom than I ever thought possible. One that used to only exist as a daydream. I created the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur or one in the making who's looking to create a business that makes an impact and a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Well, hey there. Welcome back to Online Marketing Made Easy. And I'm so very glad you're here today. This particular season in my business holds a special place in my heart, and I'm excited to share more about it with you throughout this episode and many to come. It's the time of year when I dive into updating and launching my signature program, Digital Course Academy. I make it a point to refresh the program every 2 years to ensure that it stays current and it reflects the strategies that are truly making a difference in my business and those of my students and in the industry as a whole. And this year, I'm making some huge changes that are designed to help my future students in ways this program has never done before. So usually my updates involve minor tweaks, adjusting a marketing tactic here, fine-tuning a teaching strategy there. But this time around, the updates that I'm making are much more substantial. The reason for the big change is simple. I've been closely listening to what my students truly want and need from this program. And while making these updates over the last few months, I started thinking about all the potential digital courses out there, the ones that are still sitting on the hearts and minds of the creators, just waiting to be brought to life. And then the ones that have been created, but those who created them just didn't really get the results they wanted, so they abandoned their courses. Many of these courses offer powerful advice that could make a real impact on people's lives. And this got me thinking deeper about why some courses flop while others positively impact the lives of countless students. And if you've created a course that didn't quite hit the mark, believe me, I've been right where you are. When I created my first digital course, I did so without really understanding how to reach or launch effectively online. And I ended up spending several $1,000s creating the course and only making a whopping $267 when I launched it. Fast forward to today, almost 16 years later, and my courses have helped over 90,000 people. And they've generated multi-million dollars for my business. So in this episode, I thought I'd share some insights on how I got there, to a place where I can confidently say I know how to create and deliver a successful digital course that transforms lives and gets students the results they're looking for. I'll discuss 3 strategies that I wish I had known when I launched my first course. These are the very same strategies I use today when creating or updating courses in my business. And no matter where you are in your digital course journey, whether it's still just a dream in your heart or you've launched multiple times, I'm confident you'll walk away from this episode with actionable tips that will inspire you to elevate your course creation game. And promise me that you'll stay until the end of this episode, because I'm going to share something with you that could revolutionize the way that you approach creating digital courses. I know this one shift in my mindset absolutely did that for me. And so I want to offer that to you as well. But stay with me to the end because I want to kind of set the stage first. All right, so let's get to it. First up, let's dive into a strategy I like to call build it so good they'll beg you to buy. This is all about creating a course so compelling and valuable that when you open enrollment, people are practically lining up, credit cards in hand, eager to join. It's all about ensuring that what you're offering is exactly what your audience wants. And when you put this strategy into practice, your marketing feels more like you're sharing something helpful online. Sales come more naturally, and your students turn into your biggest cheerleaders. They're excited to tell everyone about the amazing transformation they've experienced through taking your course. So, how do you take advantage of this strategy to get these outcomes? You validate your course. I can't stress this enough. Do not skip this step. It might be tempting to jump ahead and start your course creation journey by outlining your course and nailing down your title and modules and lessons. But I promise you, truly successful courses stand out because they've been validated first. And if you're multitasking, come back to me now because skipping this validation step could mean missing out on a whole lot of revenue. Trust me, I learned this one the hard way. Remember that story from the introduction about my first course that only brought in $267? A big reason it flopped was because I didn't take the time to validate it first. Now, while there are several methods that you can use to validate your course, such as using surveys and social media polls and hosting focus groups, my favorite technique is what I call course calls. So, course calls are in depth conversations that you have with a few potential students. Think of these as the golden opportunities to dive deep into their minds and uncover their fears and their challenges and their desires. So I think we often believe that we understand what outcomes our students desire or the struggles that they face, but without direct feedback from them, we're essentially guessing. And the problem is we often guess wrong. So, to put this strategy into action, you're going to go out and connect with a few potential students who are experiencing the exact struggles or desires that your future digital course addresses. So, you're going to get them on a call, like I'm talking a Zoom call, so they can see you and you can see them. And for all my introverts, if I can do this, so can you. I know it's not easy, but it's so powerful. So, you get them on a Zoom call and you really try to understand what are their needs? What are they struggling with? What have they tried before, but it hasn't worked for them? And through their conversation, they need to talk more than you. And through what you learn, you start to see how possibly your course could help them, or you start to see, wait a second, I am very off base. I've had students that have done these course calls and they've said to me, Amy, I realized I was going in the total wrong direction. And at first, that is very frustrating. They feel defeated. They feel like they did something wrong. They feel like they're not cut out to create a course. But I tell them, okay, you could feel that way for a minute, but we got to get back on the horse. We got to keep going. The goal is that if you find this out, it's like, ding, 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 good for you. You just saved yourself a lot of headache. So let's go back to the drawing board based on what we learned, and let's figure out how to tweak, change, or whatever might be needed to get that course that's inside you out into the world. It's just is going to look different than you thought, and that's okay. Welcome to marketing. Marketing is always experimenting and trying different things and learning more about your audience. So it's important that you approach these course calls with an open mind. You can't assume that you know everything. Instead, act as though you don't. Listen again more than you talk and go into these like looking at the experience of what can I learn? What can I glean from this so that I could be better at what I do to serve? So if you're thinking, okay, what the heck do I even ask in these calls? Well, here's some examples or suggestions that you could try. So, number one, what are your biggest frustrations with? And then you insert the topic that you're thinking about creating a course around. Or I love this one. If I could wave a magic wand and help you achieve the results you desire, what would that look like? Like, what are you after? What do you want? So those are two of my favorite, but there's so many more you could ask. And I'm going to give you a resource in a second you could check into, but I recommend using these questions and then adding a few of your own so that you can make sure that you're getting the answers you need. Like, don't ask any questions that you don't care about. I know that seems like duh, but we tend to ask questions, or when we do surveys or when we get on the phone with people, questions we think we should ask. but then we don't really care about the answers. Get to the questions that you really, really care about. Get as gritty and real as you can so that this call, which is about 20 minutes, so that this 20-minute call could be very valuable for you. Okay, so remember that resource? So I did a really cool episode a while back, but it stands 100% still today, where I actually did a course call on an episode with a woman who was not my student yet, but I knew she was a potential student. I knew she was right for what I was going to teach, but I wanted to learn more about her. So her name was, or is, she's still very much a good friend. I just wrote the foreword of her book, but when you listen to this episode, I didn't even hardly know her at all. So it's episode 280, and her name is Jamie Troll. And the episode is how to do a course call to validate your digital course idea. So it's episode 280. So remember, every time I give you a number, it's just amyporterfield.com/the number. So /280. So in this episode, again, I do a course call with a future student. She has since created her digital course, launched it multiple times, has become super successful with that digital course, built this thriving business. And now, like I said, she is writing a book with a traditional publisher, and I got to write the foreword. So it's a really sweet story. But back in episode 280, I didn't even know her. So it's really cool to see what has happened. But if you want to hear me do a real course call, amyporterfield.com/280. And the reason I really want to point this out is that course calls, they can absolutely lead to some truly eye-opening discoveries about what your audience really wants. Like, for example, I have a student, her name is Karen Oliver, and she created a course that helps franchisees become expert marketers from lease to launch. And I think that's a really cool kind of way to look at it. They leased this franchise and now they launched it. She's helping them become expert marketers with that. Now, she initially thought her content had to be incredibly detailed and complex and high level to be of value to her students. However, during her course calls, she discovered that her audience actually craved simplicity. She kept hearing them say they wanted straightforward, easy to implement solutions. They already had enough information. They were probably very overwhelmed, but they wanted all that information to be simplified. So this insight allowed her to tailor her course content in a direction that truly met her students' needs and their skill level. And what does this mean? That means now they're getting results. And what does that mean? Now they're telling other people, other franchisees, hey, I took this really great course. It was very simplified. All that information we're getting, it really made sense in one course. You should check out that course. People talk, whether good or bad. So the more you understand your audience and deliver what they need, the recommendations for your course will skyrocket. I think that's why I have so many people buy Digital Course Academy. One, I think we have an amazing marketing strategy and have beautiful affiliates who spread the word for us, but also our students. I have 90,000 students in DCA. Our students tell other people. That helps immensely to get the word out. So it doesn't happen overnight, but my friend, if you care deeply about your students, it will happen. Okay, let me give you another great example. This is from my student, Jennifer Held. Her course, it's titled, When Being Hot Ain't Cool No More. And it focuses on managing hot flashes and night sweats for menopausal women. So once you know what it's about, you kind of love the title, right? So initially, Jennifer planned to concentrate on weight gain during menopause. However, during her course calls, she learned that the women were far more concerned about hot flashes and sleepless nights due to night sweats. So this feedback prompted her to shift the entire focus of her course content, and she was able to meet the needs of her students. And there's something powerful when you just go boom, right to the cause. Yes, I think many women in menopause think of weight gain and wanting to lose weight, but so many, because I'm getting in that place, talk about hot flashes. I hear it all the time. And I remember vividly my mom having them when I was young. And so this is like a big thing. And the fact that she was able to zone right in, this is what happens. So if you're multitasking again, come back to me. When you figure out what really is keeping them up at night, for this one, literally, but what's really on top of their mind, you cut through the noise. I get asked all the time, Amy, how do I cut through the noise of Online is chaotic. There's so many messages, so many courses, so many things coming people's way. How do you cut through the noise and get seen with the topic that is keeping them up at night, that is top of mind for them, that is truly their challenge, and speaking directly into it? That's how you do it. And that's exactly what my student did. Okay, I said one more example. I have one more I wanted to share with you. And this is from my student, Arlie Hastings. So Arlie has a course titled Breastfeeding Basics from Prep to Pro. Now, during her course calls, she realized that her ICA needed a significant mindset shift before they were ready for her course. Many of them weren't even aware of the problems they were about to face. As a new mom, you just don't know, right? So these insights from the course calls were invaluable, helping her tailor, this is important, her pre-launch content and marketing messages that she was starting to craft to ensure potential students understood why they needed this course in the first place. That is big. If you're new to courses, that might not like hit home, but anybody who knows courses and launching and pre-launching, you know how important this is. So those of you who aren't in the world of courses just yet, pre-launch is when you start dropping your message, when you start putting it out there, hinting at something's coming, but start to attract people that would be interested in your course. You're not even talking about your course in pre-launch. You're just putting out great, valuable information to help people understand why they will eventually need what you're going to put out there, and then really help them make some mindset shifts so that when you introduce your course, they're ready. So for example, in my world, during pre-launch, we talk a lot about what a course can do for your business. And we talk a lot about how to come up with a course idea. Because before those two things are addressed, you're not thinking, I want to buy a $2,000 course on how to create and launch a digital course. But once you start thinking about your topic and getting help in that area, and once you start seeing what it could do for your business, you're kind of like, whoa, I'm paying attention. I'm interested. That's the beauty of pre-launch. So during her calls, she realized how to grab their attention and change their mindset before she ever sold to them. That is priceless. That is the course call strategy. And it really does help you with your marketing and your messaging and also just the content you put in your course. I feel so confident when it comes to selling my courses online because I believe in what I created. I know I have something incredible that meets the exact needs of my future students because I've listened to them so much. They've told me what they need, which is one reason why I changed my course this year. And I'll get into that. But that was part of my course calls look a little different now because I get to talk to the students who've gone through my courses. So I get their feedback, which helps me with future editions of my course. But I learned a lot from people who took my course and what I could do better. And that's why I updated the course this year. So I'll get to that. But confidence is a big part of creating a course and launching a course. You get more confidence through these course calls, which comes with just knowing what your audience needs and how you can position it. So if you ever felt nervous about selling anything online, I think that asking yourself if you've really validated this idea, because a lot of lack of confidence comes from, I just don't know what they want. I'm not really sure if they'll buy this. Course calls get you closer to, oh, I know what they want, and I'm going to start to create messaging around this so they can't resist it. Okay, before we wrap up, I do have a bonus tip for this strategy of validating, but you have to promise me something first. You have to promise me before using this bonus tip that you'll do at least 2 or 3 real course calls with actual humans before this. Deal? I think you should do more than 3, but I like baby steps. So if it freaks you out, just do 2 or 3, and then you'll probably want to do a few more. But here's a tip. ChatGPT can be an incredible tool to help you validate your course. So using AI, you can simulate interactions with potential students, which will give you some really great insights. So I'm going to give you a prompt. Are you ready? I'll put this in the show notes. So amyporterfield.com/710, 710. I'll put this prompt in my show notes, but here's the prompt for ChatGPT to help validate your course. Okay, here it is. Quote, imagine you're a potential student interested in, let's say, meal planning. What are your top 3 struggles when it comes to this topic? What are your top 3 desires? And what would make a digital course on this subject truly valuable to you? So AI can actually act as a potential student of yours. And it's an amazing tool to help in course creation when utilized correctly. So I encourage you to play around with it. You know my stance here, right? If you follow my podcast, you've heard me teach about courses. AI is not going to create your course. It's not your end all be all, but it's a really great assistant, especially to kickstart ideas so you're not staring at a blank Google Doc. So when you use the feedback from your course calls and then also what you learn in addition with the AI resource I just gave you, this will absolutely help you start figuring out what people want, what language they're using, what are their struggles, how can you tweak the course idea you have to meet them right where they're at. These course calls will help you with marketing copy. It will help you with troubleshooting some areas you might be stuck on in terms of your idea that you have. They're so valuable, but it takes time and you have to put yourself out there. And so I want you to be the kind of person that's not afraid to do that and knows that if I put a little time here, it will pay off tenfold when I start to create and launch. Okay, so we're moving on. That was our first strategy. I want to move on to our second strategy, and it is called Teach to Transform. So, this strategy effectively bridges the gap between your knowledge on your course topic and your ability to teach and communicate the knowledge in a digital format. So, using this strategy in your course creation ensures that your students do more than just learn, they actively implement what you teach and they experience a real transformation by the end of your course. We all want that, right? So, this strategy is important because with so much free information available online today, what really sets digital courses apart isn't just the knowledge that they contain. Instead, it's how the course creator organizes and structures this knowledge, motivating students to take action and apply what they've learned. I've been talking about this for years, and I don't think it gets talked about enough that it's just not enough to have really great content. How you present it, what the flow looks like, the step by step, all of that is important. So, to do this in my courses, I use a content framework that's broken down into 4 key parts: the what, the why, the how, and the proof. So whenever I introduce a new teaching concept in a lesson, I make sure to structure it around these 4 key elements. Again, the what, the why, the how, and the proof. So this approach ensures both clarity and effectiveness, and it encourages students to actively engage and apply what they learn. So I like to teach by example. So in this episode here, I want to take a closer look at each part of my content framework. And I think this could really be valuable for you. So first up, the what. So this is where I define what I'll teach in the lesson. So I think it sets the stage and it gives students a clear expectation of their learning objections. I think it's so important. Like, okay, so what is it that I'm going to learn here? I make that crystal clear from the get-go. And then I go into the why. So this is where I emphasize the importance of the lesson. So the why connects the content directly to my students' needs and goals. So explaining the why is relevant and important for them, and they can understand, okay, I understand what we're going to learn, but I also understand why we're going to learn it. So when it gets tough, I see the bigger picture. I see where this is going to benefit me. I think the why connects to what's in it for me and what am I going to get out of it. I love that. And then, of course, I go into the how. I think this is where I'm the strongest in terms of I dive into the main teaching content of the lesson. I guide my students, give step by step. I show them how to take action with this, how to implement it. And doing so will get them the results they want. And I make that really clear. So the how is probably what we're all better at, but the what and the why in every lesson you teach is important before you get into the how. And it takes minutes to do, but it's often skipped. And then last, when I'm teaching anything in a course, is the proof. So here I reinforce the lesson by providing evidence and examples. And I do this by sharing stories and case studies and testimonials or just demonstrating how I've applied it. I use a lot of things for my own business because I only teach what I know, but I feel as though it's probably more powerful if I share how a student has done it that maybe hasn't been in the game as long as I have. So I love to show proof, but in every lesson, there's some proof. And it's really also just an example of here's what it would look like when you do this. So that's important too. So this 4-part content framework, it ensures that my lessons are structured and impactful and directly tied to the transformation that my students desire most. And it also encourages them to take action, ensuring that they apply what they learn to get real change, because I need my students to get results for them to recommend it, right? So that part's important. Now, the cool part about this framework is that it's not just for your digital courses. You can apply it across all types of content. I actually did a podcast episode touching on all of this. It's like a deeper dive into how it works. So it was episode 379. It's called Cure Writer's Block, the content structure my team swears by. So amyporterfield.com/379. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Now, I want to talk about the key takeaways from this strategy. Every lesson in your digital course should deliver clear, impactful steps that directly addresses your students' needs. So when introducing a new teaching concept, you've got to ensure it's not just for the sake of adding more information. You have to use this 4-part content framework so that you make sure it's exactly what your students need. The what, the why, the how, and the proof makes it so much easier to create content in a course. And I believe that the most successful digital courses, they streamline every single thing that they teach. There's a path, there's a flow to it so that it minimizes overwhelm and it saves time for your students, and they get results faster and they get results, period, which is so very important. Okay, so now we're at the third and final strategy today, which I like to call professional passion. So when you create a digital course that truly resonates and transforms lives, you're not just a course creator, you're also a visionary, a project manager, a teacher, a marketer, and so much more, really, all wrapped up in one. And balancing these roles requires more than just passion. It demands professionalism. So showing up as a professional every day is essential when creating the course. So this means you are committed to your daily routines, like a startup or a shutdown routine. Michael Hyatt talks about this a lot, or just having a plan so that you know when, where, and how you're going to tackle these tasks that are needed to get your course done. You have to keep yourself accountable. And you can also have accountability partners as well, but getting really organized around everything you need to get this course created and launched is essential. I highly recommend a project management tool, anyone that you like, anyone you want to use, with every task in there. Even if you're the only one that gets the action items, you're a one-woman or a one-man show, highly recommend you get a project management tool to track all the tasks you want to do to get your course created and launched. I think Seth Godin put this concept brilliantly when he wrote, "Do what you love is for amateurs. Love what you do is the mantra for professionals." And I've heard this said a different way as well. The first time I heard it was from Layla Hermosi. I don't know if she created it or heard it somewhere else, but she said you have to learn to love what it takes to get what you want. And this concept that Seth just said, love what you do, is the mantra for professionals. You just gotta love that it's gonna take grit and tenacity and confusion and overwhelm at times just to get to where you want. Because I will say my road to amazing success with digital courses doesn't mean that I loved every step. Like it was not just easy. You know, it wasn't easy for me, but it also wasn't always enjoyable. But I knew what I wanted, and I wanted the freedom from courses. I wanted that kind of business. So I just loved showing up, like the tenacity. I loved proving that I could do it even when I wasn't comfortable. And I still love that today. Love is a weird word to use in the sentence, but I think you kind of get the gist of, I just really know what I want and what's at the end of all this hard work and focus. And I'm going to just do what it takes to get there. And that's the love what you do is the mantra for professionals. Again, I want to read what said. I want this to really sit with you. Do what you love is for amateurs. Love what you do is the mantra for professionals. That mantra is about learning to love the process required to realize your dream. And you can't just work on it when inspiration strikes. This is a big one for me. I get stuck in this a lot where I have to sit down to record a podcast, or I should say, I get to sit down and record a podcast. And sometimes I don't feel fully inspired by the topic. And then I think I can't do it. But there's no other time to do it. It needs to get done. So I don't ask myself if I, quote, feel like it anymore. I'm not always going to feel like it. But I know that on the tough days when I'm not feeling it, I just am going to push forward knowing where I want to go. And knowing that, let's say, podcasting, this podcast has changed the shape of my business, the trajectory of my business, the success of my business. So on days that I don't feel inspired, I remind myself, I really love what this podcast does for my business. So I'm going to show up anyway. I'm just going to show up and do my very best. And I think that has served me really well. And yeah, it can be challenging at times, but I can tell you from experience that the satisfaction and freedom you gain from showing up and doing what is necessary to get what you want, like let's say creating a digital course business or adding a digital course in your business, what that can do, it's unparalleled. Like the actual freedom you get and the feeling that comes from knowing you have a thriving business is worth showing up when you don't feel inspired, but doing it anyway. I could get on a high horse and talk about that one forever, but I won't. We're going to keep moving on, but I feel really strongly about that. So back to courses. If you are committed to creating a digital course that serves your audience, remember, don't treat the process as a hobby. Show up with a professional mindset every day. When you have a clear plan that outlines every task and action required to create, market, launch, and deliver your course, and you approach each step with professionalism to your best of your ability, any feelings of overwhelm or confusion about what to do, they do start to subside. The confusion and overwhelm becomes less when you've got the plan in place. And that's exactly why I advocate for investing in a program that provides a clear roadmap to achieve your goals. Whether it be Digital Course Academy or not, if you want to create and launch a course, learn from somebody who promises you step by step, no stone left unturned. Because that way, you don't know what you don't know, and you're not supposed to know how to do this. When I say every action, everything you need to do should be in a project plan, you're like, I don't know every action. I do. And that's what I provide in my program. I give everybody a fully detailed project plan that they could input into a project management tool. That's something I'm really proud of. And in the beginning, in 2019, when I launched this course, I didn't have that. And people said, we need every action you want us to take that you teach in your program. Please put it in a project plan. Boom. That's what I did. So I feel as though my students never have to guess which steps to take or when to take them. I've carefully mapped out every detail in a timeline and into phases. So for course creation, course launching, all that good stuff. This structured approach ensures that they know exactly what to do and allows them to approach each task with what I talked about earlier, a professional mindset as they implement it. And here's the thing, if you've ever dreamed of creating a digital course, it's a sign that you have something important to teach. You have the solution to a problem someone else is looking for, and you can actually change their life or just make their life better with your course. And I feel like that's a big deal. So there you have it, 3 strategies to deliver a digital course that your audience really wants and that get your students into action. Now I want you to start applying these strategies so that you can begin transforming your ideas into a digital course and making an impact in your business. I'll do a quick recap, but I promise to tell you a little bit about why these strategies are important to me. So I started the episode saying I made some really big changes with Digital Course Academy. It's coming out later this year. It's not even available at the time of this recording. However, we already re-recorded the entire program from scratch. So I brought in a video team and we did the entire course. But what I'm most excited about is we actually added a new track. So usually there's just one track, how to create a digital course from start to finish. But a lot of my students are just starting out. So for the ones that are brand new, they don't have an email list, they're not exactly sure their topic, but they want to test the waters with the course. I'm now teaching my newbies who come into the program how to create a workshop course, which is a smaller, more easier version of a digital course just to get something out there. Quick cash injection, but also Once you get started, you're going to want to do even bigger things, but I love baby steps. So how to create essentially a mini course and get it done faster, and then you can dive into a bigger course. I love that. So anyone who gets into Digital Course Academy gets both tracks, but now I've got something for my complete newbies, but also for those who have more established businesses and are ready to go all in with a more bigger, profitable course. So I wouldn't have known that if I didn't validate my course over and over again and then talk to my students who have gone through it. So I'm excited about that. It's coming out later this year, but I just wanted to share that with you because there's some really, really exciting things if you're interested in creating and launching a course with me. Okay, so real quick, validation. So this is where you're going to make sure that you're talking to people and really understanding what their needs are. And then you're going to pay attention to the framework. Remember, anytime you teach something, use this for courses or anything else you do. The what, the why, the how to, and the proof. If you just follow that, you could put together a really solid lesson that people will follow and get results with, and they won't be overwhelmed when you introduce your content in that type of framework. And then finally, embrace this with professional passion. And what that means is treat it like the seriousness it deserves, meaning it's not a hobby anymore. You're doing this to create revenue in your business, to become the go-to source, to serve your students in a bigger way. This is your business now. It's part of your business. It's not just something, a little cute idea that you can play with here and there. Even if you're in a 9-to-5 job, still give it the respect it deserves because you could change lives with this course. But if it's not treated with professional passion, it likely will never get done. So again, that's where the daily routines, morning and night routines, the project management tool, all of that comes into play. So these are the strategies that I wish I knew 16 years ago. When I think about creating that very first course that was a huge flop, I knew I didn't have any of the understanding of how to get started with a course. And if I look back, I wish I had somebody who had gone before me just to guide me and say, this is where you start. This is what you need to do. Here's some decisions you need to make from the get-go. That would have made a huge difference, saved me a lot of time, energy, and tears, to be quite honest. And so that's who I want to be for my students now. That's why I show up in the way that I do. And speaking of that, if you want to create a digital course and you're not sure how to get started and you're not really sure of what it would take to get that course out into the world, I want to invite you to something special. Once a year, I do a boot camp. It's called Course Confident. It's the cheapest thing that I offer all year, and it's meant to kickstart your digital course journey. And in this boot camp, we're together for a few weeks. I am live in the group, and I am teaching you what you need to do to get started, the decisions you need to make, the things you want to think about, and how to actually get going, take action with your digital course, including the topic. We got to talk about the topic. We got to talk about what you're going to price this course, like all the things that you're probably thinking of and have no idea like what to do with them. We're going to cover that in the Course Confident Bootcamp. It's one of my most favorite things I do all year. And I love that I get to be present with people that are just getting started. So amyporterfield.com/bootcamp. That's where you'll go to enroll in the bootcamp. It's coming up fast and it will go by quickly. So do not miss this. I only offer it once a year. amyporterfield.com/bootcamp. The thing is, if you've listened to the end, you want to create a course. There's a course in you. And quite honestly, maybe you did create that course and it just didn't work out the way that you wanted it to. Let's fix that. Let's get that thing out into the world so that you can start making a difference for your students, but also start building a thriving business that has revenue coming in over and over again. I'm a big fan of creating one course and launching it over and over again. That's where that freedom comes in. You're not always starting from scratch. But I got to get you started the right way. And that's what Course Confident is. My favorite bootcamp of the year, amyporterfield.com/bootcamp. Go sign up. I promise you, this will be one of the best decisions you make all year when it comes to growing your business. I hope to see you there. We're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to get to work. So I'll see you in the bootcamp.